2 years ago today was one of the worst days of my life, and it kicked off what would end up being a year of apathy towards every emotional situation that I encountered. The first 3 months of every year for the past 4 years have always been a little tough. This year being a little different, I just moved to a new city to start the rest of my life, and things have generally been better than they were in prior years. But I've been spending a lot of time reflecting on the first 3 months of the year over the past 4 years, and I wanted to sort of chat about one really big lesson that I learned in 2022. In very early January of 2022, I met a guy on Tinder and we started talking, and very quickly we decided to be friends. He was looking for something a little more casual. I was looking for something more serious, but we both had good vibes and we wanted to stay friends even though we weren't looking for the same thing. So we met up as friends and we went out and we did a lot of new things, and I had new experiences with him that I'd never had before. I'm not sure if you've ever experienced this, but if you have, I think you'll know exactly what I'm trying to convey, which is that feeling when you meet a new friend and very quickly you sort of fall in love with them. Platonically, as a friend, you just fall in love. That falling in love feeling, I've had it before with my friend back home. Her name is Sarah. When I first met her, we fell in love as well, and we joke that if I wasn't gay, we would get married. So here I was with this guy experiencing those same feelings, except he was gay and he was attractive, and we'd met and matched on Tinder, and sort of, what does that mean? Because it indicates that he also thinks that I'm attractive. There was a new element there because we were both gay and single and looking for someone. And so as I was falling in love with him as a friend, I was also starting to just really like him in a romantic way.
I did make a new friend, and since coming back to California, he's the only person I've seen. So I've spent so many hours with this boy, and yet I kind of just want to spend more time with him. And I'm concerned for myself that this is developing into a crush, which I feel would be not ideal.
And almost a very in a very youthful way, I think that experience really messed with my self-confidence, because I didn't know if he liked me back, and almost like a childhood crush kind of thing. It's risky, and it can make you feel like you're not good enough.
I don't know, it just feels shitty of me to want something more. Maybe, I don't even fucking know.
In other situations, I have felt I'm not good enough, or I'm not attractive enough, or whatever. And so I've had those feelings in the past, and during this situation, they were kind of brought up again. And so 2 years ago today was the day where I was I can't take this. I feel really bad about myself. I just need to ask him if he's interested in going on a date. And if not, let's be friends and move past it, and it'll be fine. At least I'll know and we can move on. And so 2 years ago today was the day that I messaged him and I asked him. I'm actually insane. I have this well documented in my diary. I'm going to read you what I said and what he said. So I said to him, this is probably coming out of left field, but I want to say, if you ever wanted to go on a date with me, I would very much love to do that. But also, if you don't, that's totally cool, because I really love being your friend too. I've just been thinking about it for a while, and I feel like I owe it to myself to ask, but I don't know how to thoughtfully communicate something like this to you. And I definitely don't want us to feel awkward if you aren't interested in that way. So he replied many hours later, I want to stay friends, but I'm glad you felt comfortable enough to ask. Or I don't know, maybe you pushed yourself out of your comfort zone. Either is good, and I'm happy you did. Don't feel awkward about it. Sounds like a great response, right? It was in that moment where I don't think I have ever felt worse about myself. Genuinely, my self-confidence was on the floor. I remember that moment sitting in my studio apartment, having a fucking breakdown over something that seemed so minor. It wasn't about him. It wasn't the fact that he wasn't interested back. It was how typical that sort of response was in my life. When you've struggled with self-image, you sort of get into a routine of, I'm not good enough for this person, or they wouldn't like me. And when those sort of scary, untrue feelings are validated and they're the true feelings, the word I used to describe it was typical. This is exactly how it's gone every time. I'm never going to be good enough for someone. Here's this guy, him and I were super incredible friends, and even that isn't enough. he knows me as a person, and even that's not enough. I just felt so incredibly worthless, like as a human. And over the course of the next month, our friendship totally unraveled, not by my choice. I wanted to like move forward and just kind of forget that happened, and like, it's fine. I'm old enough to move on if someone says no. For him, I don't know. I guess he didn't want to continue our friendship. And then I said, like, really, I just miss my friend. I miss the friends that we went on ventures with and I could celebrate with. And I miss feeling, wow, what a great foundation we're building together as friends. You know, I miss all that. And he didn't respond to that text. I followed up in my diary. I've never hated myself more. It's just the overwhelming feeling of how typical it all is, the only being good enough to be friends. I feel like there's something wrong with me. I wish I was someone else. I wish I was worth it to someone. In the coming days, I would take some time to process this, and I tried to open up about it to a couple really close friends. And even in trying to open up about these feelings that I was having, I was breaking down. I couldn't even talk about it without crying. I've only felt that kind of reaction a couple times in my life, that strong reaction to something, and I was over it. I couldn't continue with how I was feeling and allowing myself to feel that way. And so I did something new. Instead of sulking, I embraced apathy. I chose to not let myself feel anything. If I was gonna feel something, it wasn't gonna be good. So I closed off and I stopped opening myself up to experiences and people that would make me feel something. And I did that for a long time. I did that for the rest of 2022. I embraced apathy, and it became like a power. I bragged about it, how apathetic I was towards things and how things didn't move me like they used to. And then towards the end of the year, I turned 21, and my birthday, and at the end of the year, I also like to look back on the prior year and think about how that year went and what went well and what, I hope for next year. I thought about my apathy. I was turning 21, and so I was looking back at 20. I wrote about how for 19, I learned so many lessons that year. I went into that year and I had a lot of struggles with college and COVID and guys. And I came out of that such a changed person because of the emotional maturity that I had to go through and the growth I had to have there. And I looked back at 20, and there were so few lessons that I learned. Embracing apathy shut me off to growing as a person. And I felt almost like I'd wasted the year a little just being apathetic, trying not to feel. I didn't go on dates for the rest of 2022 after that initial event. I really closed myself off to new things. In turning 21, I wrote, I learned how to be apathetic and distant, and that's no way to live in the long term. I must relearn how to care and love freely. And that's sort of the thesis of this video and what I've been thinking about over the past couple weeks as these sort of anniversaries roll around, is apathy and its place in my life, and moving past being apathetic and allowing yourself to feel and allowing yourself the space to cry and to laugh and to really embrace everything there is to life, and to not hold yourself back to protect yourself, because the only way you're going to grow is by being uncomfortable, and sometimes that uncomfortable is going to be a mental breakdown. The only way to have self-confidence is to get through that part where you don't have self-confidence. There's that one scene in Call Me By Your Name, the monologue, where the father says,
we rip out so much of ourselves to be cured of things faster that we go bankrupt by the age of 30 and have less to offer each time we start with someone new.
And I think that's really what I was feeling. I needed to rip out that part of myself. But the advice he gives in the end,
but to make yourself feel nothing so as not to feel anything but a waste.
I think that's the main thing I'm trying to convey here. So beautifully said, of course, in that movie. If you think about the types of art you enjoy and appreciate, the movies that move you, the songs that make you laugh and cry, none of them are about apathy. None of them are about protecting your peace in terms of not feeling. When I think about the things that really move me, they're the pieces that have made me feel something so deeply. The Barbie movie last year. God, what a movie. And it would not have been the same movie if it didn't have those incredible emotional notes. It just would have been a corporate Barbie movie if it wasn't for Greta. When I think about my favorite artists like Boy Genius and Phoebe Bridgers, same vibe. Ryan Beatty and Troye Sivan, so much of their music is about joy and love and sadness. And so I want to call out here that I think really to have a life worth living and experiencing is a life without apathy. You can protect your peace while allowing yourself to feel everything. You know, if you want to live a life like some of your favorite artists, some of your favorite songs, some of your favorite movies, then you need to have the space to go through that, to keep putting yourself out there, even when it's hard. That's what I try and think about a lot when I'm making decisions now. And when I'm like, no, I don't want to go on dates because I am tired, like I can't. You know, put yourself out there. If you're thinking, no, I want to close myself off to this experience, to protect myself. Allow yourself to be hurt and to be loved and to make mistakes and to learn lessons from those mistakes. Truthfully, I probably wouldn't ask a friend if they want to go out on a date again. I learned my lesson, but at the same time, looking back at that experience, it was worth it to go through that. It was tough, really tough, but better to have gone through something like that and to have lived through it and to be stronger for it than to skip it. I think that's it. No need to linger on this point. That's what I've been thinking about. Have a good rest of your night. Thank you for joining me here, and I'll see you in the next one, okay?